You know, I'm fond of telling a story about Bombay, which a city I've worked in a lot and I'm very fond of, is that its basic tax mechanism is octroi, which is a tax that was largely done away with in European cities when they went to nation states. And in France, it was done away with in the Revolution in 1789. The second is a property tax that has so many exceptions, it's much like the Danegeld that was used in England before a market economy existed. And the third was, until very recently, the Urban Land Ceiling Act, in which they took land from people to take from the rich to give to the poor. And there were so many exceptions that basically the poor didn't get much and financed an awful lot of political campaigns. But if you think about that, and you think of this as one of the most sophisticated cities, not only in India, but in the world, its fiscal mechanisms are approximately in the 17th century. And so the sense of how do you build a capacity so that a city like that can thrive and have the public sector respond to all the capabilities that the financial sector, the theatrical sector, you name it, and it has it there, and it's embodied, the medicine, everything, writing, and the public sector is 200 years behind. And so, and on the one hand, it hasn't been empowered until recently, but now it's 20 years into constitutional amendments to empower that city. And so, you know, right now Bombay doesn't have any urban planners. If you go through any number of the, 40 or more cities of 1 million or more people, that many of them have very little institutional capability to respond to the host of problems that are involved with enormous numbers of people living close at hand, ranging from basic sanitation to water supply to traffic to housing regulations to just a host of things that are basic public goods that require technical skills and managerial interaction that in some ways, and gets to the point of this about IIHS, is the need to build a professional cadre of people to respond to just, I think the numbers are 300 million people being added to cities in the coming years, and I think the capacity now is relatively low. And so expanding a capacity to deal with that is quite a problem. One of the most important functions of the public sector, so that the private sector can actually contribute as much as it can, is that cities be well managed. There's a study by McKinsey that's well known that suggests that India cannot continue its growth rates at its levels unless urban land markets function. And the functioning of those markets is almost completely a private sector management issue. So I am certainly not one who says the public sector can do everything, but this is one of the roles that are essential. And so a well-functioning but nimble public sector is essential for the private sector to be able to contribute and to continue to contribute at rates, again, that the world has never seen before. And if that public sector cannot support and enhance what's going on in the private sector, and for households, just basic services for households, the lack of dignity, not to mention the health effects, are extraordinary. And so that's public sector, and while the private sector contributes a lot, it's not going to carry out these roles. And for that, you need training for people so that they get the capacity to provide those services. One doesn't know, but certainly the sense that these are manageable questions that people of goodwill and dedication and seriousness can deal with. And so if you don't add in a professionalization of these talents that are needed to manage these services, you're giving up and being particularly pessimistic about what can be done, particularly in light of what you observe elsewhere in the economy. And there's no reason to assume that these things can't be done well. And so in that sense, I think IIHS, particularly linking up with MIT and DPU, can draw on their talents to build skills. Simultaneously, I think these institutions in the West have never seen anything like what is going on in urbanization in India, and they can learn a great deal too. So this is very much a two-way street, and they all recognize it. And I think particularly in terms of some of the IT and the open access and so forth that are planned for IIHS, these are things that could revolutionize the way people think and teach how do you plan in the future. So So in short, I think there's a lot of opportunity. I think you've got wonderful people coming together. You've got a board that is just an incredible list of people who are well-wishers for the country and just talented people. So, you know, it may not work, but it's certainly something worth trying. IIHS should not be a place that just trains skillful developers so that the private sector developers who are doing a lot of work in India just get more talented people faster. That what is needed is a public sector, this nimble, essential public sector to complement that. And if IIHS doesn't supply those people, it will have failed, I think. I don't think this is something to improve your private sector developers who are already doing quite well. The second is, I think it's very important that it be inclusive and have a range across an extraordinarily enormous country that is served by all kinds of people, and so the sense of including them in this process is one. The language issues, the whole range of, I like Nandan Nilekani saying India has been split by its race and caste and religion and region, and so you need these horizontal ideas, and these horizontal ideas are to break those silos and bring people together. So inclusiveness is a one-word way to say this, but bringing India together so that it can address its urban problems that are here to stay, and those are two things I think are important.